When discussing a movie like The Fourth Kind, it is perhaps critical to understand the critic's own beliefs and perspectives on aliens and alien abduction theory. And, okay, do I believe in aliens? Sure. To paraphrase Carl Sagan, it's an awfully big galaxy out there, and for us to be the only sentient race out there seems like an awful waste of space. But, do I believe in alien abduction theory? No, because it's bullshit. And let's just ignore the relative impossibilities of intergalactic space travel. You can always argue there's more science, and who knows, there's a warp drive somewhere. I don't know. But I would just like to think that if there are aliens out there, they would have far, far more pressing concerns than to fly all the way down to Earth just to probe Uranus. And humans, of course. But The Fourth Kind is... the comparisons are inevitable to two movies. Close Encounters of the Third Kind, which is one of my favorite Steven Spielberg movies, and is far superior to this, and is actually far scarier than The Fourth Kind. And I don't even think Close Encounters is meant to be all that scary, and it is. And I think the comparisons are also to Paranormal Activity, which I think is almost a companion piece, or at least it was marketed as such. I remember seeing a trailer for The Fourth Kind in Paranormal Activity. And they seem like very, very similar movies. In fact, they almost seem like exactly the same film at face value, just with a different kind of paranormal bent to it, where one is kind of like a ghost, another is aliens. And so I actually walked in there thinking this was going to be a very similar type thing. And I remember watching with great interest shows like Unsolved Mysteries. Shows like that, even not Alien Autopsy, I didn't like that, but I remember watching Unsolved Mysteries as a kid and being like really scared of all those stories. And Robert Stack was awesome. And if they had gone that way, it might have been a better film. But as it stands, like everywhere that Paranormal Activity succeeded, The Fourth Kind failed on virtually every level of storytelling to become a truly wretched piece of cinema. I mean, it's so bad, and worse, it's boring. I mean, I might have forgiven it for being just like shamelessly over the top bad, but really nothing happens in this movie, and there's so many reasons why it is bad, and I think it's best to approach with like how the story is told. Paranormal Activity was much more believable, if that makes sense, because the approach to the storytelling looked pretty authentic. I mean, you didn't really believe it was real, and I don't think they ever claimed that it was real, but if you were able to suspend your disbelief on a hook at the door and just let it into your mind for a minute that, yeah, ghosts are real and you're watching something real, I thought it was pretty effective. Now, some people aren't able to do that, and which is why I say, like, maybe if you believe in aliens, this is scarier to you somehow, like if you really are afraid that somebody's going to beam in through your window and take you out. And really, I'm not. But I'm the kind of guy who can suspend my disbelief. But really, nothing happens in this movie that is nearly as effective as Paranormal Activity. And most of the scares are of the jump scare variety. Like, when somebody sits bolt upright out of bed, there is like a 9,000 decibel orchestra sting, and the guy starts screaming out of nowhere. And like every scare is like that. And you get really in a movie, you get one of those before it gets annoying, and that's what it does. But The Fourth Kind tells its story in a very novel way, and I'm sure it's been done other places. Probably The Last Broadcast was actually a very shitty movie, but it kind of goes in this pseudo-documentary approach where the actors get in front of the camera and tell you, like, I'm an actor, and we're going to be reenacting this archival footage for you, and we're going to kind of intersperse it with the actual archival footage. And you wonder why they do that, because the effect is very disconcerting and very distracting. And I think it robs the movie of any and all immediacy, authenticity, and dramatic tension, because it's actors, and you can tell it's actors, and you're reminded constantly of the fact that it's actors. And this is the big difference between this and Paranormal Activity, is Paranormal Activity is told as it happens, okay? When the ghost attacks, that's what you're seeing, you're seeing the door swing shut. In this one, you're seeing reenactments, and the real shame of it is, and I couldn't believe this, but the supposedly real footage with people who aren't supposed to be actors are far better than the reenactment actors. And if they were going for that, mission accomplished. But it's really amazing how like actresses like Mila Jovovich are blown through the walls by the acting of the real people in this film. And it was so much so that you kind of wish they just made a movie of the archival footage and left the reenactment shit at the door. But they couldn't do that, because the entire premise of this movie is you're kind of following the therapy sessions and the hypnotic regression sessions of these victims. And so, were they to do that, you would just be seeing just people sitting on a couch talking, and that would be boring. And so they kind of had to intersperse the imagery that these people are, visualizing in their head of the white owl, and the regressed memories and the things that are implied. But at the same time, they still do include footage from other sources, and you can tell this would not have been impossible to make. For instance, like when one of the victims kind of goes apeshit after having all these memories returned to them, of like, finally this guy realizes what the fuck has happened to him, and he just like snaps. He's like, the aliens are after me. And so you start seeing footage of other places, like the dashboard cam of a police car, and I think you see surveillance camera footage here and there, and like audio tape sessions. But all of those pieces of footage are far more effective and immediate and authentic than the reenactments, and those are the only really scary parts. Like, it would have been a tricky thing to do, because otherwise, most of the time you're kind of staring at it like a tape recorder as you're listening to, like, EVP phenomenon, and you're listening to transcripted tapes. But at the same time, I wonder if that still might not have been better, if they'd have gone like, we really got some fucked up tapes here, and I know a lot of it's audio tape and like therapy footage, and so we're gonna, like, maybe you could hit them with like artist renderings and things like that. It would not have been out of the realm of possibility. But seriously, the way the movie is arranged, I guess you had to try it with this whole like melding with the reenactment documentary thing, but it really, really doesn't work. I think if they had taken a much more clinical approach to it, without indulging in the overacting, and believe me, these guys, the reenactment actors, overact. I mean, they chew the scenery so much that they are literally floating out of their beds because they've run out of walls to chew, and so they're going after the ceiling. They are all over the place, and they are really, it's embarrassing to watch. And let me think. I guess the other problem is, this is all told after the fact, and so you kind of know how it ends already. And the very few narrative devices, like the Dr. Tyler, the person who is doing all these interviews and stuff like that, has these really bad memories of her husband's death, and so I mean it's really telegraphed early on. But I guess the other reason I say there's no movie is because at any time, any one of these victims could have just left the movie. Okay, for instance, the person I mentioned who goes apeshit, like she takes this one person back in memory regression, and so he remembers the aliens are probing his ass, and they're fucking with him, and they're like victimizing and sodomizing. They're doing horrible shit to him on this spacecraft, and they're just fucking with him. And so he completely loses his mind, and he goes back to his house and basically kills his family because he cannot bear the thought of them being abducted anymore. He's like, it's hopeless. I can't take it. These aliens are coming, and there's no stopping them. They're just going to come into my house, and they're going to take everything I know, and I don't know what to do. I have to kill everyone. And like, just because if I kill them, they're free. Leave. If you're afraid the aliens are coming, leave the house. Leave Alaska. Like, this whole thing takes place in Nome, Alaska. If you think it's worth a try, like, okay, maybe the aliens are going to follow you from the implants in your sinus cavity. I don't know, but have you tried leaving the house? Maybe the aliens won't find you if you don't leave a forwarding address. God, like this guy's most rational course of action is to take a .45 caliber handgun and blow his wife's brains out, then himself. Just leave the fucking house. The doctor, at any time when she starts realizing the aliens are fucking coming, leave Nome, Alaska. You've got all this evidence. You got footage of people fucking floating. Like, get the fuck out of Alaska. Is it just like, I don't get it. Is it? It's one of those horror cliches where they're like, I have to find the truth. Bullshit, you do. You can leave the fucking state. But let's just say they are. But man, this movie sucks. This is so bad. And what I remember when I said that I'd like to think that aliens have better things to do than probe Uranus. Well, the only reason why they wouldn't is if they're bastards. Like, if they're just like, let's fuck with these fucking monkey men. And you know what? That's what the aliens do in this movie. They're like, fuck these people. Like, just seriously, let's fuck with them. God, I hate these guys. Let's shove something huge up their asses. Like, let's just take them, and then, like, we have this god complex, and we're gonna whisper weird Sumerian shit in their ear as we're, like, just non-lube fucking them with this big fucking drill. And there, by the way, there is a gigantic ass drill in this movie. But I kind of wish we'd seen more of that. You never really get an impression of what these aliens are doing. You never actually see one of them, and I think that's by design. I think the director of this movie realized that the minute he showed a little gray man, or even like a big gray man, like flopping around in a big rubber suit with big black eyes, they'd be like, oh, we just shake our heads and go, this is so fucking stupid. And you know what? It is fucking stupid. These guys, you never see the aliens' faces. You never see. There's no money shot, really. You just kind of see like shadows, like a shadow flips across the door, and you're like, what the fuck was that? Or you see like the momentary glimpse of like a flying saucer, and you do see the big ass drill, but you never see. Usually there's some kind of money shot in movies like this, like in Paranormal Activity. There is a money shot. There's exactly one, but it was a good one. In this one, you never get an impression of what they want to do, and in fact, when you finally do get kind of a hint of what they want to do, you're like, really? They're just assholes? Like, they're not doing it for any scientific purposes. They actually... This is going to be a big spoiler. Seriously, fuck it. I'm going to spoil the shit out of this movie. The aliens are like... They claim to be God, and they're like, don't pray to your God, we're God. Like, we're gonna fuck with you, and like, just, we'll probe you whenever we want. You can't escape our shit. Like, and you're like, wow, I never thought of the concept of the aliens. Like, you always think they're gonna implant shit in your head and like probe your anus, because there's some real scientific study to be had in your inner colon, or, you know, we can track you and stuff like that. I've never ever imagined the aliens as being like, look at those guys in that fucking planet. Look at them. They still think digital watches are really neat. Let's fuck with them. Like, just, oh, fuck. I hate these fucking guys. Like, we made them, and we can pick them up and, like, throw them around wherever we want. Like, hey, you see that little girl? You want to blind her for the rest of her life? That seems like a really cool idea. And so they do it. You're just like, what the fuck? And I remember the one thing I really hated about this movie is, I think... What the worst part that really distracted me from thinking this movie was at all authentic, that really did not allow me to suspend my disbelief in any fashion, was the asshole sheriff character, Sheriff August of Nome, Alaska. And the actor is ordinarily a very good actor, but he is given this impossible task of being the ultimate skeptic character who's like, oh, are you going on about fucking aliens again? Like, it's not fucking aliens. Like, oh, what are you... And so, at every turn, he's antagonizing the doctor, like, I'm watching you. You slip out of line one more time, and it's going to be the chair for you. Like, what are you doing to these people, you demented Svengoolie? And, like... This guy suspects the doctor of hypnotizing people so badly that they're starting to spasm and, like, sever their own spinal columns and stuff like that. I mean, they've got tapes of these guys, like, floating and shit. And this guy's like, oh, I've had enough of your science bullshit. That's not aliens. What did you do? What did you teleport this girl away? And, like, every scene this guy shows up, he's kind of like the angry chief in, you know, every Dirty Harry movie, who's like just always busting the doctor's balls, and you're just like, oh, would you lighten up? Can you not see the fuck is going on? Like, they got the entire sheriff's office that are like staking out this doctor's office. They see the fucking UFO, and this guy walks in, and he's like, enough of this UFO bullshit. What are you doing to my men? Are you putting these thoughts in their head? It's like, oh my god, stop it. But I think another really frustrating aspect of this story is that it never gets the fucking point. The trailer essentially spoils everything in the movie, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, as Paranormal Activity kind of did the same thing anyway, but it was still pretty effective. But at least Paranormal Activity got to the fucking point. It didn't insult your intelligence, and it didn't take 70 minutes to get to the ghost. they kind of told you, like, oh, there's a ghost fucking coming, and it's fucking with us. And so, like, 5 minutes in, you see a fucking ghost, and you're not sitting there like, okay, can we get to... In this movie, in The Fourth Kind, it takes them, like, an hour to get to the point where they're like, do you think it could be aliens? And the trailer, we know that it's aliens. They tell us that it's aliens in the trailer. But this whole time, they're like, she's going through the therapy sessions, and she's putting the pieces together, and like, we have to watch as she interviews all these guys, and they're like, and they're all saying, like, I saw an owl outside my window, and she's like, an owl, really? And then they cut to another person who was like, yeah, it was this really weird owl, and it was looking at me, and she's like, an owl, you say? And then the third person was like, and I think it was in my room, and she's like, you saw an owl too? And they're like, yeah, that's weird, isn't it? And she's like, it is weird. Why do you think they're all seeing an owl? And so she's like doing research on like people seeing owls, and she's Googling shit, and she's bringing other doctors in, and she's like, all these people are seeing owls, and they can't sleep, and they're having really violent reactions to repressed memories and things like that. And so eventually, like, when she starts seeing, like, when finally someone blows his brains out, like, screaming something about intruders in his room, and she's like, have you ever heard of abductions? And the doctor, of course, has to play, like, her friend is another psychologist, and this guy has to play dumb, of course, and he's like, abductions, you mean kidnappings? And she's like, no, I mean abductions. And he's like, you mean alien abductions? And she's like, yeah, that's crazy, is it? Because I think it's aliens, and I think they've been here a long, long time. You're out of your mind. You're getting too close to this case. And it's just, by this point, literally, probably 70 minutes have passed before we get to that point. And so, like, the audience is already there. Like, before the opening credits roll, before they do this Criswell bullshit of the actors getting in front of the camera and going like, and if you don't believe us, remember, events such as these can infect you in the future. Future events as these will affect you in the future. And you're just like, okay, it's aliens. I get it. It's aliens. Aliens. I get it. Okay, the owl is an alien. Fine. Fuck it. Just... And I just wish they'd stuck with just one or the other. If you're gonna, like... And, it's actually been done. This movie has been done, like, one way or the other. I was actually talking about doing it, like, the pure documentary way. And when it's done badly, you get, Alien Autopsy. But I think this could have been done really well that way. But the other way is doing it like a full reenactment. And that movie is called Fire in the Sky, I think. Which is, I think it's actually been a long time since I've seen that movie. And probably now if I watched it, it would not be that good. In fact, it'd probably be pretty terrible, but as a kid, I watched that when I must have been like 8 years old. That was fucking horrifying, that movie. I was like, holy shit, the aliens are here. And they're like, this guy was like bleeding out his nose and like vomiting and like hiding under his table nude, and he was just like, if I hide under the table, the aliens can't see me. And then of course, like, I remember the third act was just like, he starts to remember what the aliens did to him, and it was like this really weird thing where like everything was all slimy and shit, and there was like people with hoses in their noses, and it was just really weird. I should actually watch Fire in the Sky again and review that one, because I bet if I watched that one, I mean, I remember that movie scarred me as a kid, but now if I watch it, I bet it'd be fucking hilarious. But yeah, that's how you do it. I mean, if it scared me as a kid, it'd probably scare other people like today. I don't know. I'm kind of curious about that one now, but man, The Fourth Kind, I had such high hopes for that one. It is not a good film. Not at all. Just boring. And you know what? There's probably much better TV shows out there that deal with this kind of thing. And even if you're not into that kind, like even if you don't believe in it and things like that, I remember watching the Unsolved Mysteries, and that was like, you were able to kind of suspend it for a while and be like, wow, this looks and sounds really real. And I think the real nail in the final nail in the coffin was over the end credits, they start playing what is, I don't know if it's real or not, it's like audio footage of people calling in reporting UFO sightings, like air traffic controllers, truckers, and things like that. And if it's real, it only serves to illustrate how bizarre and inconsistent the the whole alien abduction phenomena is. Like, one guy is reporting in a UFO that looks like a fedora hat, and another one is reporting one that looks like a square, and, of course there's the saucers and things like that, but it's just kind of remarkable that after all this time, there's really no documented evidence of any of this shit, and even if there was, you'd just be like, so what? They're doing flybys. I don't care. But yeah, don't go see this movie. I'm actually kind of stunned to hear myself say that. I was really fired up about this film. There's probably another film I was going to go see this week. What was it? I don't know, but I've been really distracted lately. I've been taking kind of a break ever since my recent stressed out episode, and I've been playing a couple games. I've been playing Borderlands, and I've been playing Dragon Age Origins, both of which are very good. I think you already knew that. Borderlands is... my mini review of that one is... I'll say that it's already been reviewed to death. I mean, basically the common consensus is it's a first-person shooter Diablo, which is fair enough. I mean, it's shoot 'em and loot 'em. That's all it is. But it's done very well. But I think it's only worth playing if you're able and willing to play it with 3 friends online. I mean, you could play it single player, but I don't think there's much point. It's kind of boring otherwise. Dragon Age Origins... I got the PC version. I was kind of reluctant because I've been trying to play Fallout 3 and it's unplayable. It crashes so much, and I don't know why. It's not a virus or bad memory or anything. It was just like all of a sudden it stopped working, and I mean I can't cross 100 yards of distance in that game without the video driver locking up or something like that. The game freezes or crashes the desktop. So I was kind of nervous about Dragon Age Origins, which has actually been very stable, and so far, it's pretty good. I can't imagine playing that game on the console, though. Everything I'm doing with the interface and like the combat maneuvers and things like that, with pausing in combat and manipulating the inventory, it's all very complex. And I can't see myself doing that with a controller, but maybe you guys have played it that way. I played it with a PC, and it's very good. I kind of wish there was a multiplayer element, and apparently there was, but it got cut. I don't know. The one distracting thing I think... I don't know if people... One person mentioned this to me, and it's true that there's a lot of blood effects in this game, and like, just as soon as anybody does like a death blow on a creature, like they are covered head to toe in blood, and maybe it's I hate to say realistic. Like, I remember one guy killed a wolf, and all of a sudden he was just covered in wolf gore. And he proceeded to be covered in wolf gore that never went away through the entire dungeon until we got back to town. He was covered in that shit, which I was kind of proud of the fact they kind of maintained continuity. I remember in a few games like X-Men Origins Wolverine and stuff like that, your suit magically heals and things like that. So I was like, oh, that's cool. The blood effects are persistent, but at the same time, my guys looked like they were a fucking horror show, man. There was some ultra violence going on in that game, and I remember my guy walked. My guy is I'm playing a mage the first time out, and so my guy, he has this spell called like a walking corpse bomb or something like that, where I can cause corrosive damage, but if the spell kills somebody, they explode. And so my guy is just like dripping in fucking gore, and I'm like, I'm like, this is awesome. This magic is cool, but I haven't gotten that far in it. I just started playing it. I got past the I think the origin story or whatever it was, but it's pretty good. Anyway, I'm rambling. I'm gonna go back to play it. I'm working on Ripper. Ever since I upgraded to Windows 7, I've kind of had to reinstall all my shit and figure things out all over again. So getting my video capture footage to work has been a little bit of a struggle, but I've got Ripper working, so I'm going to play some of that, kind of half and half, and so like when I get frustrated with Ripper, I'm going to go unwind with Dragon Age and maybe Borderlands. But anyway, I'll see you next time. Skip this movie.